Something chilled for a second.
Oh, is this like cafe? Oh yeah. Little bar. Box spaces.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right here.
Oh, perfect.
Good afternoon and welcome. The ceremony will start in just a few minutes. The procession is on its way. But before that, I have a few notices to give you. Can I please ask that you take your mobile phones and check that they're on silent, switch to flight mode, or even switched off? We don't wish for any alarms or anything like that to go off during the ceremony to disturb either the graduates or any of the speakers. So if you could check your phones, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. No personal photography or filmography is permitted during the ceremony. This is due to data protection. Professional photos are available to purchase, and a stream of the event will be available on YouTube on the graduation page. Professional photos will be taken throughout the ceremony, and if anyone here doesn't consent to their photo being taken today and used for publicity, please let myself or any of the other marshals know. In the extremely unlikely event that we need to exit the building in a hurry, please remain calm and seated. Marshals will assist you in exiting the building. And for staff on stage, we have a fire exit to the left of the altar through the vestry. For people to my right, please exit through the tower door at the rear. And for the people to my left, please exit through the main entrance which you came. Please do wait to be directed by a marshal. When the ceremony has finished, the procession will leave the church and you will be asked to stand. The procession will be followed by the graduates and finally our VIPs, and our remaining guests will then be asked to follow. We'd then ask you to join us for a reception in the marquee behind the Vincent Centre. If any of the children do become restless during the ceremony, because it can be a long time for them to be sat, I'd ask that you take them out of the church for a breath of fresh air and then perhaps return them, so as not to disturb the back of the church, where one of the marshals will escort you back to your seat. Thank you, and please enjoy the ceremony and the rest of the day. Can I please ask you to stand for the procession?
Please be seated.
Good afternoon, everyone, and may I welcome you most warmly on behalf of the University to this graduation ceremony. Today is a very special day for all our graduands, and you come from several faculties and disciplines, representing a good spread of what the university does. Today is a very special day for you all, and indeed for your friends, families and supporters, and for the staff and the faculty who have taught you. Attaining your degree from the University of Buckingham is a real achievement and something of which you will always be proud. You have, as I think you will know, enjoyed the standards of teaching that are special to the University of Buckingham. And you have been taught by dedicated staff. And I know that you, for your part, will have worked hard, studied hard, to achieve your goals. We've had the difficult interlude of COVID, but I do hope you've also had the opportunity and been able to take the opportunity to be an active part of our diverse and multicultural student body, which will have introduced you to people, experiences, traditions, and cultures from across the world. You are the latest in a long and lengthening line of distinguished graduates from the University of Buckingham. As you look back on your time here and remember the support and encouragement you've received, we hope you'll act as ambassadors for your university and continue to enhance our shining reputation. May I congratulate each and every one of you and wish you every good fortune in your chosen careers. Thank you.
Dame Mary Archer, distinguished honorary graduate, Professor Sue Black, deans of the faculties, honorary graduands, and ladies and gentlemen, our dear friends. Welcome to you all. I'm Professor James Tooley, the Vice-Chancellor of the University, and it's wonderful to see you all here, and it's particularly wonderful that Dame Mary Archer is with us as she is all week, and committed as she is to the students and your welfare. The warmest of congratulations to you all. It has been, as Mary said, a difficult time. We've been through a difficult period. I was just reminiscing, it was only a year ago that we were finally released from lockdown. And you must have been through, for many of you, at least half of your degrees were through that terrible time, that difficult time. And it's wonderful that you've made it here at the other end, as it were. And I'm looking forward to meeting many of you as we go from this service, this ceremony, to the Balloff lawn, to the marquee there, and sharing some drinks and exchanges then. It's wonderful to be here on this site of this wonderful church where this university, when this university was University College at Buckingham, this was opened here by one Margaret Thatcher in 1976. And she was then the leader of the opposition, of course, and she later went on to become the first female Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And when she retired from politics, she became our Chancellor. And just like Dame Mary, was really involved with the students and really active here. And she said something that was very important, I think, when she opened the university in 1976, from this spot here in this church. She said about the importance of freedom and independence, academic freedom, free speech. And these are things we do hold dear in the university today. About freedom and independence, she said the following: independence, we must remember, is not a gift. It is not something that governments confer, but something that a free people enjoys and uses. Freedom, she went on, requires vigor and imagination in using the opportunities available. It may well, in the present climate, she was suggesting back in the 1970s require resourcefulness to which the educational world has grown unaccustomed. And I think the same message could be true today. She finished by saying, unless we are worthy and able to take advantage of a freedom not yet extinguished in our land, we shall become pale shadows like civilizations before us who were eventually thrust aside and dispossessed by more vigorous rivals. So independence, freedom, academic freedom, the ability to be curious as academics, to follow where your curiosity leads, these are all hallmarks of the University of Buckingham, and I hope some of it has rubbed off on you as well. You're from 3 faculties today. There's the Faculty of Education, led by Professor Barnaby Lennon, who's here and will be introducing some of you. And particularly, I'm excited by the fact that people are from the Faculty of Education, because that was my own discipline. Before I became the Vice-Chancellor here, I was working in education in some of the most difficult parts of the world. As a professor from Newcastle University, I was working in the slums of Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Liberia, South Sudan, Somalia, India, working on how to improve educational opportunities for the poorest people on this planet. So education, you're welcome. It's wonderful to have you here. But we also have people from the Faculty of Medicine, and particularly under Professor Doug McQuinney, the Associate Dean of Postgraduate Medicine, and it's particularly special to have you here. We need so many graduates and postgraduates in medicine and allied health courses, and it's so wonderful that we are able to award you your degrees again today. And finally, last but absolutely not least, we have students from the Faculty of Computing, Law and Psychology, and in particular the School of Computing, led by Professor Haran Selhawa. And again, it's wonderful to know that we're working so hard on those skills for the future, and that you are here to receive your degrees today. I think we've got some of our new potential students waiting in the wings, and it's wonderful to have them here with us. Wonderful to have them here with us. I like to focus in my talks about what has happened around this time in history in order for us to even more remember the day that's so special for you. And this week was a very special week in history in politics, and with particular relevance actually to the shenanigans that are going on in politics today with, if you recall, Boris Johnson's greatest hero was Winston Churchill. And this week in history, in 1945, Winston Churchill lost the post-World War II election. He was there. Many of us think of him as inspiring victory in World War II, and yet he lost the election. The British people voted for the opposition party, and he was removed as Prime Minister. And I think there are some wonderful quotes from Winston Churchill that I would like to share with you, because they are about, really, the types of journey that we're going to be started on, that you will be starting on from today. And the first one is about humility and modesty. Because many of us will very glibly say, I think, Winston Churchill, he helped us win the war. But he said this: I have never accepted what many people have kindly said, namely that I inspired the nation. It was the nation and those dwelling all around the globe that had the lion's heart. I had the luck to be called upon to give the lion's roar. Winston Churchill, of course, the course of the Second World War was always about ups and downs, successes and failures. His life was always a story of success and failure. And my guess is many of our lives have seen perhaps not the peaks and troughs he saw, but nonetheless success and failure, striving to do something and then not quite succeeding and not quite knowing why. But he had a great quote about success. He said, "Success consists of going from failure to failure without any loss of enthusiasm." And that's something to recall for us all, isn't it? That actually we will fail in some things we do. We will not fully succeed, but pick ourselves up, brush ourselves down, and move on to the next stages in life. And then finally from Winston Churchill, I think of particular relevance to where you are in a special moment in your lives at the moment. He said this, to each there comes in their lifetime a special moment when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered the chance to do a very special thing, unique to them and fitted to their talents. What a tragedy if the moment finds them unprepared or unqualified for that which could have been their finest hour. At the University of Buckingham, we like to think that we have helped you be prepared and be qualified for when fate does figuratively tap you on your shoulder and provide the opportunities that are unique to you, to your talents, to your needs, to your aspirations, your ideals, your moral purpose. And I would like to think that as you leave here today qualified, prepared, that you will be able to grasp the opportunities as they appear and as they come your way. Someone once remarked there are two lasting bequests we can give our children, and by extension I'm thinking we can give our students. One is roots, the other is wings. So this reminds me of the University of Buckingham's motto, Alice volans proprius, flying on our own wings. I'd like to think we have helped you gain those wings to help you to fly high. But also, we want to be a very strong part of your roots too. Do see yourselves as part of a growing international family of alumni of the University of Buckingham. I wish you well for the next stages of your lives. It won't necessarily all be plain sailing, but I believe you will be prepared and qualified for whatever comes your way. And I just say from my heart, please keep in touch. Thank you.
I call upon the registrar.
Chancellor, Mr. Graham Jones, University Orator, will present Professor Sue Black for the degree of Doctor of Science of the University, honoris causa.
Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, Professor Black, as we look out at all these young faces before us, all excited about getting their degrees, it's difficult to imagine, even with the sound of babies in the church here today, it's difficult to imagine that any of them are sitting here thinking, I must get home soon and change the baby's nappy, or that I must get home and do tea for the children. But I have to tell you, looking at you, our graduates, I can't see anyone about to put their hand up shouting, yes, that's me, I've got to get home to my little children. But I have to tell you that at your age, Professor Black had 3 children. She dropped out of school at 10 years earlier, just at the age of 16, with no real qualifications. But her marriage at the age of 20 had given her grief. And she ended up taking her 3 children at that time to a woman's refuge. By the time she was 26, Sue Black was a single mum in a council flat, but desperate to become educated. So, at the age of 4, apparently, She used to like reading encyclopedias. That's a kind of indication of the fact that she loved learning. And I have to wonder now that as a computer scientist, do you spend all your days reading Wikipedia? But back then, when Sue Black was eager to get educated so that she could create a better life for her children, and it's lovely to see one of her children, Leah, here today, when she wanted to create that better life for her children, all that was available to her was evening classes in a local college. So Professor Black started that educational journey and went to those college evening classes. Now, as you can tell from, you can't quite tell, but just down the sides of her hat there is some bright red hair. And so she stands out in a crowd. And she certainly stood out in a crowd at those first evening classes. She told the Guardian newspaper in an interview a while ago, "I had big, bushy, dyed black afro hair and wore biker jackets, Doc Martens and miniskirts." So she's continued to make an impression all of her life. And she certainly made an impression on those first evening classes when she arrived and everybody else was male wearing business suits. She's been making an impression ever since. She's not the stereotypical professor. Sorry to my colleagues on the platform, but to some of them are stereotypical professors. But she's not a stereotypical professor. In fact, you only have to check out her Instagram account to find out that she's not the stereotypical professor. You look at her Instagram account and you discover that it appears she was the inspiration for the Icelandic entry to the Eurovision Song Contest. Now, the Chancellor, the Vice-Chancellor and Chancellor will correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, none of these professors have ever been an inspiration for the Eurovision Song Contest. But it's not just those Icelandic songwriters who've been inspired by Professor Black. Her story of leaving home as a single mum with no education and then gaining a degree in computer science, followed by a PhD in programming, and then becoming a professor, is an inspiration to many women. Lynette Webb, who's a senior executive at Google, said, "She is one of the most inspiring people I've ever met." It's clear, though, that Professor Black is more than an inspiration. She's a fighter, a campaigner, and determined to create change. One of the earliest examples of this was when she set up the online network for women in technology in 1998. Now, that's just before my own son was born. And when I think about that, it's a reminder of how that women in computing have only had their network for the duration of my son's life. It's a reminder of how misogynist the technology world has been. And Professor Black has been campaigning against that all her career. She established Tech Mums to help mothers support their children growing up in a technological world. Here at Buckingham, the School of Computing is involved in several efforts to increase diversity in computing, and Professor Black's dedication to this area is one of the reasons why she is being honoured today. The other reason for today's honour are the links we have here from Buckingham to Bletchley Park. This was the subject of one of her most impactful campaigns. Bletchley Park, on the outskirts of Milton Keynes, just a few miles down the road from here, was the centre of code breaking during the Second World War. However, it had fallen into disrepair. Professor Black was appalled and began a campaign that saw the restoration of Bletchley Park, which is also home to the National Museum of Computing. Importantly, 75% of the workforce at Bletchley were women. Without those women working in computing over 80 years ago, the outcome of the Second World War may well have been entirely different. So it's no surprise that Professor Black wanted Bletchley Park restored, as it not only recognises the importance of technology, but the value of women in computing too. Her work on Bletchley Park campaign led to her first book, Saving Bletchley Park, published 7 years ago. It remains today the fastest ever crowd-funded book, another indication of Professor Black's campaigning abilities. In his review, the actor Stephen Fry said the book was a triumph and written with huge flair. The Bletchley campaign was also one of the reasons why Professor Black was honoured with an OBE presented to her by Prince Charles. This was added to a string of other honours to which we are contributing today with an Honorary Doctor of Science Award for a striking, dedicated, influential and fun-loving technology evangelist. Professor Black is based at Durham University, but is also a visiting professor at Cranfield down the road, where we have several links. And she's also an honorary professor at the University College London. She's a technology advisor to the government, a mentor at Google, runs digital masterclasses for C-suite executives, and is a trustee of the charity Comic Relief. On top of all this, she is a very busy and sought-after professional speaker. So we are extremely grateful that you have made the time today, Professor Black, to receive your award.
Professor Black, with the authority of the University, it gives me very great pleasure to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Science honoris causa.
Professor Black will now reply to convocation.
Hello, everyone. Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, graduands, guests, and members of the university, friends, and my lovely daughter Leah sitting at the front here. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for conferring this honour upon me. I'm delighted to be here today to accept it. I never would have believed 30 years ago that I would be where I am and who I am today. 35 years ago this December, just before Christmas, I woke up to my ex-husband shouting that he was going to kill me and our children. I got up, I got dressed, got my children dressed, packed a suitcase, mainly nappies. I had one-year-old twin boys and a 3-year-old daughter. I put the twins in the buggy, left our flat and ran down the road, pushing the double buggy, carrying a suitcase, with my little daughter holding onto the buggy, running alongside me. It's a day I will never forget. We spent 6 months in a women's refuge in Brixton, on the other side of London, then found a place to live and started a new life. I got the kids into playgroup and school, and then signed up for a maths course at night school. I finished the course, joint top of the class, then applied for and was accepted to study computing at the local university. When I finished my degree, I applied for and got a scholarship to do a PhD in software engineering. It took me 7 years to get my PhD, but eventually I got it. I also applied for a full-time lectureship during my PhD, so by the time I finished, I was a lecturer at the university. Seeing that there weren't many women at the conferences that I was going to, and having some traumatizing experiences trying to chat to men about my research at those conferences, I set up the UK's first online network for women in computing, BCS Women, the British Computer Society's Women's Network, in 1998, to give women in tech the chance to chat to each other about the subject that we love, technology. That network led me up to Bletchley Park in 2003, the place where the codebreakers worked during World War II. On finding out that 10,000 people worked there, 80% of whom were women, 80%, I got funding for an oral history project to record and showcase the achievements of the women at Bletchley Park. At the launch of that project, the Women of Station X, I found out that Bletchley Park itself was having financial difficulties and may have to close. I started a campaign to save it, which took 3 years, but was ultimately successful. Twitter was a key success factor in the campaign, which ran from 2008 to 2011. I'm a bit addicted to Twitter and Instagram, thank you. I'm at Dr. Black on Twitter, if anyone would like to chat to me there. It's been great to see the subsequent successes that Bletchley Park has had since then, including a visit from the Queen, the Duchess of Cambridge, and then the Hollywood film The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch as Alan Turing in 2016. I've now had a successful 20-plus year career in technology. In 2012, as I was approaching the age of 50, so possibly part of a midlife crisis, I decided that I wanted to help everyone realise the benefits that technology can bring. I love technology, and I want everyone else to love it too. I set up a social enterprise, Tech Mums, to teach particularly disadvantaged mums fun and empowering tech skills like app design, web design, and coding in Python. Fun, right? In 2018, I achieved a massive career goal by becoming Professor of Computer Science and Technology Evangelist at Durham University. Whilst there, I've had a big focus on women in tech, on increasing our number of women staff and students, and running initiatives like our award-winning Tech Up Women retraining programme, working with industry partners to create pathways into technology careers for women from underserved communities. I'm delighted that the Computer Science Department at Durham, in October 2020, we doubled our percentage of women first-year computer science students from 15 to 30%, and we now have 25% women academic staff, a rise from 11% when I joined 3.5 years ago. And our Tech Up Women graduates are out there working in the tech industry, winning awards and being absolutely wonderful role models. As I said at the beginning, I would never have believed when I was 25 that I would be who I am and where I am today. A professor of computer science speaking in front of you all here today. I was scared to talk to more than one person at a time. I was a shy, underconfident, traumatised person from a dysfunctional family. I left school and home at 16 and was living in an abusive marriage with 3 small children. Somehow, I managed to find the strength, bit by bit, to change my life around. Inspired by my children and working to create a better life for them, I created a better life for myself. I now have a lovely husband, 4 children, including my youngest daughter Leah here, and 6 grandchildren. It's been a roller coaster ride, but I wouldn't change anything. It's taught me that if you keep plugging away, keep going through the tough times, you make it through to the good times again. We all get challenges. The people that succeed are the ones that keep going, day after day, week after week, month after month. Just keep going. Surround yourself with people that support you and don't ever listen to the haters. Thank you all so much for listening. It's an absolute honour and privilege for me to be here today and receive this honour. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and if I can do it, so can you. Thank you very much.
Chancellor, I call upon Professor Haran Selahewa, Dean of the Faculty of Computing, Law and Psychology, to present candidates for awards of the University of Buckingham in computing.
Graduands and graduates, thank you for giving us the opportunity to contribute to your development. It is a privilege to see you grow to become independent, resilient, and responsible individuals with knowledge and skills to make a positive impact on our society. I am incredibly proud of you and all your achievements. Today is an extra special day for me because my little brother is also amongst you. I wish each and every one of you the very best life has to offer. And may you offer the very best to all your endeavors. Chancellor, I present to you the graduates in computing. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Computing, Al-Numan Abdul Qadir, having submitted a thesis entitled On-the-Go Sensor Nodes Blockage Mitigation and Intelligent Connectivity Management for LoRaWAN IoT Networks. Dongju Han, having submitted a thesis entitled Measuring Confidence in Classification Decisions for Clinical Decision Support Systems, a Gaussian-based optimization approach. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Mathematics, Aras Asad, having submitted a thesis entitled Persistent Homology for Image Analysis. For the degree of Master of Computing by Research, Ali Eskandari with distinction. Rahulan Radhakrishnan with distinction. For the degrees of Master of Computing by Research with distinction and Bachelor of Science in Computing and Software Entrepreneurship with first-class honors, Ian Whitmore. For the degree of Master of Science in Applied Computing, Muhammad Awais Ali. Ami Patel. Padmavati Sivalingam with distinction. For the degree of Master of Science in Applied Data Science, Wissam Redjem with distinction. Harold Wilson. For the degree of Master of Science in Applied Data Science degree apprenticeship, Matthew Ball with distinction. Karen Bold with distinction. Fang Fang with distinction. Carl Guest with distinction. Abhijit Ta with distinction. For the award of Graduate Diploma in Computing, Itunu Oluwo Fidiyumu with distinction. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Computing, Maha Farouk Gatsi Bashiti with first-class honors. Okwelebe Ibe. Abdullah Ahmed Al-Hassani. Amar Ali Zaidi. Avin Alvis with first class honors. Laurie Austin with first class honors. Subi Bagambe with first class honors. Morenike Esiruoso. Sabah Qureshi Kahangi. Bethan Gibson with first class honors. Matthew Harvey with first class honors. Thomas Humphreys with first class honors. Matthew Keddy. Aaron Lienage with first class honors. Manish Mistry. Dumisani Bernard Muchipisi. Somia Uza. Mihir Raniga with first class honors. Louise Ratcliffe. Nicholas Reyes with first class honors. Uze Zale with first class honors. Anastasia Taylor with first class honors. Si Hin Humphrey Wong. Zachary Woolger with first class honors. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation.
Chancellor, I call upon Professor Doug McQuinney, Head of the School of Postgraduate Medicine, to present candidates for awards of the University of Buckingham in Medicine and Allied Health.
So, today we welcome more healthcare professionals to our family here at Buckingham. We know they have all worked extremely hard to achieve their degree, and at this time they certainly deserve their accolades and congratulations. But the congratulations must also go to their friends and family who have been there to support their endeavours. So do not forget to thank before you leave today, ladies and gentlemen. Secondly, the awarding of your degree today is not the end of your studies, but the start of encouraging by teaching and training the next generation of healthcare professionals. So for you all, the end of one chapter is the opening of another. Chancellor, may I present to you the graduates in Medicine and Allied Health. For the degree of Professional Doctorate, Osama Al-Assadi, having submitted a thesis entitled Cancer and Venous Embolism, Predictive Risk Factors of Venous Thromboembolism Associated with Peripherally Inserted Central Catheters in Ambulant Solid Cancer Patients. Manar Al-Musared, having submitted a thesis entitled Assessment of the Role of the Preoperative Neutrophil to Lymphocyte Ratio as a Prognostic Biomarker in Non-Metastatic Rectal Cancer. Manal Al-Kiem, having submitted a thesis entitled MRI as one-step test in moderate and high-risk prostate cancer. For the degree of Medicine in General Internal Medicine, Kavya Muria. Dinesh Madhavan Ramalingam Sethumadhavan. For the degree of Master of Surgery, G.S. Divya. For the award of Postgraduate Certificate in Medical Education, Mahmoud Awadala. Ria Danielle Christopher Grant. With distinction, Benjamin Deitch. Poonam Kapila. With distinction, Farzana Rahman. For the degrees of Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Science, George Ackworth. Demi Dallas. Yada Termthong. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation.
Chancellor, I call upon Professor Barnaby Lennon, Dean of the Faculty of Education, to present candidates for awards of the University of Buckingham in Education.
Good afternoon, teachers. I was a teacher for 40 years, and I suppose I still am. I'm in touch with some of my friends from school and university, and although some of them have made more money than me, I am so pleased that after I left university, I decided to be a teacher. And I hope those of you who are teachers have that feeling too. The other day, I was invited for coffee with an army general who claimed that I taught him in 1980. It meant little to me, I'm afraid, except for the fact that the coffee was a reminder to us teachers that in some small way that had some significance to him, I had said or done something he still remembered from school, and which had had a helpful impact on his life. In 30 years' time, most of your pupils' teachers will remember you. Many will be grateful, especially for pressing on during those dimly remembered days of that virus. Many will remember a good deal of what you taught. Some will recall individual lessons and even specific things that you said in individual lessons. No one told me that would happen when I was doing teacher training. We teachers, we may not be the wealthiest, but we are so rich and so clever for having chosen a profession which leads to a life brimming with interest and full of moral purpose. And so, Chancellor, I present to you the Graduates in Education for the award of Postgraduate Certificate in Education, Samantha Allen. Amy Blaine with distinction. Jamie Cox. John Franklin with distinction. Manisha Gafadgi with distinction. Sean Hadfield with distinction. Georgina Martin with distinction. Lauren McLaren with distinction. Leslie Nolan Stone with distinction. Nicholas Potgieter with distinction. Charles Rowland. Justine Saville with distinction. Ella Scott. Maisie Smith with distinction. Alex Story with distinction. Joanne Thornton with distinction. Shantine Ventnor with distinction. Ting Ting Wang with distinction. Jeremy Westcott. So, Chancellor, that concludes the presentation.
Chancellor, the Dame Barbara Shenfield Prize is awarded annually to the postgraduate student who is judged to have achieved the best overall performance of the year. The recipient for 2022 is Ms. Wissem Rejem from the School of Computing. Chancellor, the G-Volution Prize for Academic Distinction is awarded for exceptional academic performance during undergraduate studies at the University of Buckingham. The recipient for 2021 is Mr. Laurie Austin from the School of Computing. Chancellor, the G-Volution Prize for Academic Distinction is awarded for exceptional academic performance during undergraduate studies at the University of Buckingham. The recipient for 2020 is Ms. Anastasia Taylor from the School of Computing. The Chancellor will now conclude this ceremony.
As the Registrar has just said, this ceremony is drawing towards its close. May I again congratulate our new graduands, whose variety of accomplishments and disciplines is an inspiration, and wish you all good fortune in the next stage of your careers. As you leave the university, you will take with you, wherever you go and throughout your life, the knowledge you have acquired at Buckingham of both the theory and the practice of your discipline. Equipped as you are with the skills and knowledge to take other people with you further on their journey of education, flying on your own wings and helping those you will help in future fly on their own wings. May I also say what a pleasure it was for me to confer an honorary doctorate on Professor Black, whose life story, if I may say, is an inspiration, particularly to women. The Vice-Chancellor quoted Churchill more than once, and he is, of course, an iconic figure, saying modestly of his role in the Second World War that he was called upon not to be the lion of England or Britain, but to give the lion's roar. Thinking of last night and next Sunday, and the role of women in society, I think we should end with a little roar for the lionesses. Thank you. This ceremony is now concluded.
Please be upstanding.